Hey everyone, this is P4L. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at the newest from our favorite line, or at least my favorite line, of Transformers figures, and this is the Takara Masterpiece line. Here is MP-28 Hot Rodimus, or Hot Rod, as we know him here in the States. So let's go ahead and start off with packaging review. As you can see, we have the standard box and the standard size. With the standard layout, we have the robot mode up here, alt mode down here, and we get his kind of a very flat Cybertronian kind of car mode that we're familiar with. Obviously, there's no official licensing since it's not a real car, but he's called the Cybertron Cavalier as well, which is the first time I've ever heard of that. Same thing over here on the sides. We got some robot mode action with his blaster, one of his blasters. A profile of his robot mode, his alt mode, and you guys actually see, which we'll talk about in a little bit, just how little clearance is here for the profile, which myself and others have had really hard time actually getting this guy to roll on all fours. Nothing really much on the bottom here, and on the back we get some promo images with him and his accessories down here. You also get him with some other figures like Daniel and Ultra Magnus, some other accessories, and that's really about it. So standard MP packaging. Let's go ahead and get him open. So yeah, here is all the things you get. I'm going to go over the collector coin, which is the Asia exclusive coin. Again, with Toy Dojo, if you pre-order the MPs, you get all the exclusives for free, like coins and Amazon exclusives. Sometimes they have those. So it's always a good idea to pre-order from Toy Dojo if you like collecting these. As far as the coin itself, it's in a nice kind of fold-up, glossy case, as usual, cardboard holder. Nice Hot Rod chest emblem and Autobot logo, MP-28 down here. And this is the first time when you open it up that I actually see like a catchphrase, which I'm not sure that, I don't even remember him saying this, but I'm sure he probably did. It says, "My actions speak louder than my words." And then you have a very iconic matrix within the center being the coin with Hot Rod's face. And now on the back here you get some more face action, and then you can open it up down here if you want to take out the coin. So again, a nice bonus. If you collect them, great. It's a really nice one. If you don't, I don't think you're going to miss out on too much. As far as the instructions go, again, kind of the same old layout here with the different modes, some of the accessories, how they work, the saw blade and fishing rod, which is a throwback to the movie obviously, and then instructions. These always go from alt to robot mode, as well as showing some additional features. So let's get that out of the way as well. The new style of collector cards, or stat cards, it has a cool pose, which almost makes him look like he's riding on his alt mode version of himself there. But it's a really nice looking card. I'm starting to like these cards more than the older, boring kind of stat cards that we used to get. Here are his stats. His stats are really high, especially for Hot Rod mode. I don't think these are really very accurate for his Hot Rod mode. For his Rodimus Prime mode, yeah, I would get that, but I think those stats are way too high. The packaging itself is in a nice clamshell. It's kind of oddly shaped because of, it's not a perfect rectangle just because of the way it's holding some of the accessories in. But once you get Hot Rod out, you get a bunch of other accessories. You get his little saw blade thing, which he used in the movie. You have two blasters, and you get a fishing rod, which is also from the movie. Let's scooch this down just a little bit, and let's go through these really quickly. We're going to go into this one a little bit more in robot mode, but it's a large fishing rod. I don't even know where they would have gotten this made for any Autobot size, but I guess they got it from Teletran, or maybe they do fishing in Cybertron as well. You get two identical blasters. Well, actually, they're not identical now that I'm looking at it. It's easy to mistake them for being identical, but they are different molded pieces. They're not like the MP Hot Rod that we got before, where they can combine or anything like that. But they do have different details, and they're highly molded. It's not a very plain gun. It has a lot of molded details, very small ones. And the handles work like standard MP gun handles, but you can flip them up kind of like with a lot of the other MP cars, and they have a little notch that you can slot in. We'll show that off in just a second. And then the blade, the saw blade hand, which pegs into his robot mode hand, and it spins like so. It's pretty cool. It's a translucent piece that's actually painted silver, but you can actually still see through in parts of the middle, and it's solidly painted on the edges, which is cool. I thought it was actually completely solidly painted, but I like how they allow you to see through some of that. So for the guns, once you flip up the handles, they can go in 3 spots. There are 2 spots back here. And they work very much the same way as we saw with, you know, like prowl and so forth, and sideswipe and etc. This one's really tight for some reason. There we go. And since they do move on the handles a bit, you do get a little bit of articulation. If you would rather kind of make use of the kind of Target Master style port, it's actually underneath the engine block here. You have to fold it pretty far back, and then it has the same kind of slot here, or peg hole, whatever you want to call it. And that goes in like so. It's a nice use of the accessories. The fishing rod and the blade obviously don't really have a point in alt mode. One other thing that you can do, it's not really meant for showing off in this mode, but you can go ahead and pull up on this double hinged hood, and you can throw the matrix in here. This is the MP10 sized matrix, and that fits in really well. And then because it's kind of on a double hinge, you kind of close it up and slide it back into place. You can even see it from alt mode there on the bottom. A little bit flaky, I don't know what that's from. But yeah, let's just pop that out for now, and we'll show it off again in the robot mode review. So as far as alt mode review goes, this guy looks really great. He is really sleek. One thing I will say is that I do have trouble getting him to roll on all 4 wheels. He has just the slightest bit of clearance issues for me, and I've seen other reviewers who did an early quote-unquote sample review that they got from Taobao or somewhere else, and they said that sometimes they have problems, sometimes they don't. I can't figure out any kind of trick that actually will get this collar, and this is the piece that causes clearance issues. I can get 3 wheels to roll no problem, but it's always the 4th wheel that doesn't work cleanly for me, and I can't really figure out why. So if you have a tip on how to get this sitting a little bit closer, let me know in the comment section, and I'd appreciate it. I'll share it with all the other viewers. But yeah, I think the latest rounds of MP cars from like Trax onward and Ironhide have all featured really, really nice paint applications, and that which is paint jobs for alt mode and in general. And I think this carries through with Hot Rod. Almost, I would say like 90% of this is painted. All here, most of this here. The only 2 sections that I can really see that aren't painted are these mid sections here, which are part of the arm, which is a little bit unfortunate, and I question why they didn't paint these. And you can definitely tell that they're unpainted, which is kind of a bummer. I don't know why they didn't paint these 2 sections, but that's really about it. And then these kind of spring-loaded sections don't look like they are either. But other than that, it has a really, really clean paint job, to the point where I was questioning whether it was even painted or not, or if it was just really nice, smooth, glossy plastic. And it's just really nicely done. You can see these kind of booster pieces here, or exhaust pieces there. You have a slight amount of molded detail here and here. Not a ton, but I can kind of get away with this being not as detailed or with detailed molding, just because it is a fictional car. So I'm not expecting it to have a lot of detail. One of the features that you can do in this mode is you can kind of reach back here and pull up on these 2 pieces that they open up, and they kind of have exhaust here, which I think looks really nice. It looks very cool. And I don't know if that's a throwback to anything, but I like that. You can just press them back down. But when you do that, it does untab part of the tabs that go into the foot, so you're going to have to retab that in. So that's really it for alt mode. I guess the end gearbox chrome looks nice. These chrome pieces look nice. The wheels are just plastic. They're not rubber or anything like that, but they look fine. And I like how in the final retail release, which is this is obviously, the translucent windshield is a blue tint, which is more screen accurate than the sample ones, which had very light tint, or just were clear. Alright, so I really like the alt mode. Thumbs up. I just wish it had a little bit more clearance here, and just these two pieces had some paint. But otherwise, it looks really clean. So very quickly, let's go into some comparisons for alt mode. First, we'll bring in streak. And you'll see that they're close to the same length. He is a bit wider. And taking a look at the actual height, if you include the spoiler, they're about the same height, but the actual hood of the car, I guess, is much lower than the hood here. There is no ability to open the canopy or anything like that to have anybody sit or anything like that, but that's fine. One other quick comparison in alt mode will be for MP9. Scooch out just a bit. And you can see they're obviously the same character. This is obviously a much older design, and also had to conform to 3 modes because they also had to do a combination with the trailer to get into the 3rd mode. So it's not nearly as nice and clean looking, and the transformation getting into this mode, MP9 mode, is a much more delicate. You have to get everything kind of in the right place at the right time kind of thing. This one is, MP-28 does a much better job of a much more concise, honestly just fun alt mode transformation. I mean, it looks overall better. But you can see the pure size difference. It's just massively huge compared to MP-28. I will say that, there's still definitely some things that MP-28 takes from MP-9, but they're all good things. You can see the bottom here. Let me scoot up and back off a bit so you can actually see this comparison. It's a very different take on the transformation. Yeah, so that's it for alt mode review. Let's go ahead and get into transformation. So transformation on this guy is really fun. I really like it. I think they did a really good job on this as well. So to get started, you're going to want to come to the side here, and where what will be the forearms, you want to pull down on it here, as well as up at the bicep, and that will release. Do that on both sides. The first time I did it, it was really, really tight, and just be careful because I believe this might be, oh, actually it's not. I was going to say it might be translucent plastic, but this section actually isn't. So you want to do that, pull that down just a bit, and then what it says is you want to pull up on the collar just slightly, like so, and then come up here. There's tabs on these orange pieces that go into the front here. Just release that, and that will allow you to kind of flip. Get the arms out of the way, flip this down like so, and then you'll see this tab piece go into this little slot here, and you just press down like that. On this side, it says that you're supposed to flip the headpiece or collar piece all the way around. I find that either way seems to work okay, but you have less clearance issues going this way. So go ahead and do that, and once you have that here, you want to flip down the engine block piece with this kind of grayish purple panel down flat as possible. It's not going to go completely flat, but it's going to go pretty flat, and you'll see his head pop up. At this point, you're going to want to extend on these 2 double hinges here, And you should actually want to do that before you tab that in. I apologize. So there's a double hinge system here on the shoulders that allow you to extend the shoulders out. Kind of get these arms out of the way. Fold in the sides like that, and they just sit in. There's no tabbing system there. And from here, you can go ahead and fold these orange pieces down. They have small tabs that kind of sit behind this little ridge here. And that's really it for that. Then we'll come down. We'll deal with the arms a little bit later when we finish off. These legs untab from the rear section. This is going to come up. And while it says before that you should tab this orange tab into this slot later, I find that it's a bit easier to do it now. So to do that, you want to eject the tab that's actually in there already, and that's on this little arm piece here. Just do that. You can go ahead and tab it in. It's a really nice tight tab, which is great, and holds the backpacks very, very securely. Once you have that done, you're going to come back here, fold in these two exhaust pieces, and then you're going to untab each of these side pieces, these kind of wheel wells, fold that in, and doing that will push these exhaust pieces that we saw before. Then we're going to collapse this on itself, like so. You'll see these two tabs going to these two slots, and again, these are really nice and tight, really nice tolerances here. And then you can go ahead and rotate the spoiler around so it's facing the right direction. So that makes up his backpack, which is pretty big, but still really well engineered and as compact as I can imagine them being able to do that. So now once that's in place, you can use those double hinges on the shoulders, and you'll see there's two tabs, one here and one here, that go into the translucent blue pieces slots here and here. And these are what secure the shoulder and arm into place on both sides. Be a little bit careful. I'm always careful whenever you're doing things that interact with clear plastic. It makes me a little bit nervous that he did that here, but it's felt really solid so far, so I'm not too concerned yet. At this point, you rotate on this swivel, the shoulders, all the way around 180 degrees, and that makes the front of his arms rotate at the bicep joint 180 degrees. And since we're here, we'll go ahead and open up the arm panels, which are pretty standard. Flip the hands out, close it up. Same thing on this side. Flip this out, and you'll see there's a little peg that exists, and you'll use that for the saw blade kind of accessory. We'll show that off later. Once you go down to the legs, flip up all these skirts, the front and the side ones in particular. The back ones don't really matter too much, but the reason you need to do that is because you want to separate the legs, and sometimes these side skirts kind of get in the way. The reason why you flip out the front is because you're going to open up these leg panels, and you're going to, if you've messed with the Combiner Wars line at all, the Deluxes have a very universal kind of mechanism for the legs, and this one follows that mechanism exactly. I don't know which came first. Maybe they designed this one first and spread it to the Combiner Wars line, or vice versa. Either way, it's a really nice mechanism. I actually always enjoyed that, but they reuse it in the Combiner Wars line a whole lot. So there's a series of tabs, and we'll go over that on the other foot since I was talking through that, and you just flip out the heel. There's some molded boosters on the heel part as well. So here, once you have that open, you're going to want to extend the leg all the way out, and there's two things that secure the lower leg in place. This slot here, which has a little tab on the knee, and then once you have that in place, there's another tab at the back of the knee or the shin, and then this tab's in here. Once you get all that done, flip out the foot again, and with that, flipping down all these skirts, with that you have Hot Rodimus or Hot Rod in robot mode. And overall, I'm really happy with this robot mode. I don't think it's perfect, and there's some things that I wish they improved upon, but it is a really nice hot rod mold, and robot mode in general. So let's go ahead and do a quick 360 while I blab about it. So the things that bother me are the backpack is a little big. It's a little thick, but again, I think they've done a good job with it. The only real things that bother me about the backpack are these things that stick out at the top here. I wish this kind of folded down to make it more of a solid backpack, and it doesn't have these weird like protrusions. That's one complaint I have. The other complaint here on the side is, again, this plastic isn't painted, but neither is this inner part of the plastic. I think they should have painted that as well to make it a nice glossy finish. But otherwise, most of the exterior part of this guy is still painted. For most of the kind of purple, the lower leg, I think only the orange really is unpainted in robot mode, and it's only like the thighs too. Not even like this is all painted. This is all painted. I think this may not be painted here, but overall, paint applications are really solid. I don't see that many errors there. So other minor complaints I have. Overall, the proportions I think look a little top heavy. I think if the legs were a little bit thicker, the legs were a little bit bigger, and I don't know why, but it kind of makes his arms are a proper length, but just because they're so big, they look disproportionate to the lower body. So if it was a little bit thicker on the lower part, I'd be much happier. The other thing that bothers me, especially from the side, is the chest. How if you have him standing straight up, his chest is not only flat, but it also kind of sticks out more at the bottom than the top. I kind of wish there was some kind of curvature here, but I think they wanted to keep that flat for alt mode, so it was a design choice, and I can't really blame them on that. So for me, when I pose him, I kind of make use of his ab crunch, which we'll go over when we do articulation, and to make it look like this, and I think that actually makes him look better even from the front view, because when you go like this, he kind of has his belly kind of sticking out. If that kind of tucked in a little bit more, that would have been nice. Let's see, other nitpicks. Again, I'm just nitpicking at this point. This little gap here where you see the red, it would have been nice if that was a little bit more solid and covered up, because it does kind of break up the chest look. And I think lastly, with this area here, this collar piece in the middle should actually be protruding as opposed to being sunken in. That does bother me a little bit. I think that is inaccurate, both to the toy of Hot Rod as well as the animation. I think the only other thing that bothers me about this guy are two sets of screw holes. These on the forearms, I know they needed to do that to keep the hand in place, but I think they should have done it from on the alt mode and sacrificed a little bit from the super clean alt mode to get a little bit of a cleaner robot mode, because these kind of stick out. I think what I may end up doing is just painting them yellow to hide them a little bit, but that's not too bad. And then you also have the other screw holes. These don't bother me in here, but this one does, because it does break up the look of the armor here, his lower leg armor. So those are my nitpicks on a really solid robot mode, much better than the Ironhide robot mode that we just got previously. I guess the very last thing would be the shoulders. The shoulder mechanism looks kind of a little bit weird, but that kind of doesn't bother me. It doesn't stick out as much as some of the other stuff, like this gap here and these screw holes and the chest as much. So the shoulders, I had a problem with it earlier on, but it really doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would, as compared to some of the other things. So yeah, really solid robot mode. I really enjoy it, and the transformation is pretty nice and really solid. Tabs in really well. So let's do some quick comparisons. Here he is with a Carbot with side swipe. Here he is with Optimus. You can see he's much smaller than Optimus. Some of his other buddies. Blur. Get him into the picture, I guess. And I think that's all I really have that's a useful comparison. Some people want him to be Blur size. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I can't remember. I don't think Hot Rod was supposed to be as tall as Blur. And Blur, I think this one is supposed to be more scaled with the Headmaster series, where he was pretty tall, close to Optimus size. But I think they still look good together. The only other comparison I have, which I saved for last, is with the previous version that we got of the character, which is MP-9. And you can see the huge size difference here. And this is on the lower leg setting that you can achieve with this mold. I think proportion-wise, I do like this one better. This is not perfect by any stretch, but I think it proportion-wise, it does look better. There are different things that they did better. Like this line always bothered me here, which does create that better looking chest. So if they had to do that here, I think this choice was actually a bit better to keep it flat. The backpack, while here is more compact, it doesn't stay on as well. It has tons of problems there, and it also sacrifices some proportions to get everything compact in there. And then the lower legs are much better on Hot Rod than they are on MP-9. But I've always liked the MP-9 mold. Some people hate it. The only thing I don't like about it has always been the QC, which I have a version 2, which has the best QC out of all versions of that mold. So I don't really have that many problems. But if you had like the Hasbro version 1 Takara, I could totally see why people hate it. But I still love this mold. I'm definitely keeping him because he serves a different purpose than this one. Alright, so let's go ahead and get him out of the way. As far as some articulation and other features, he does have the visor, instead of kind of rolling down as it did on the MP-9 mold. Let's see here if I can scooch in a bit. It's on a pin joint, and I'm trying to be very careful because you have to open up the head, and it's really hard to kind of reach in there to get enough leverage to rotate it down on that pin joint. And it does make me a little nervous. Again, clear plastic makes me very nervous. But it does look quite good. I like it. And again, it's a little bit darker in this version than it was in the quote-unquote sample that people reviewed before. His head is on a swivel and on a swivel that way as well. So you get a good amount of articulation for the head. Other articulation that he has, the shoulder joints are on the swivel here, can come out this much. It starts running into some interference with the shoulders. He does have bicep swivel, but he also has that shoulder swivel that we saw for transformation. He has double jointed elbows, which are not the greatest looking from here, but that normally doesn't bother me to have a broken up look from the side there. And then his wrists can kind of swivel back and forth like that. And then it also has a swivel here, a mushroom peg, I think. This slot here does bother me a little bit, but I know why it needs to be there, especially on a figure of this size. He does have an ab crunch, as I talked about before. It works really well. I actually think it works quite well and stiff enough where you can hold poses like that. So I like that addition. It does make it a little bit gappy here or exposed here, especially here. But you don't have to use it, and without using it, it looks quite solid. We already talked about the hip skirts on all sides, which give you room to do a lot of leg posability. So you can go out like that. You can do if you get the back ones out of the way, you can also go back pretty far and forward pretty far. So he can do some crazy ballet stuff. He might be one of the most posable MPs that I can even recall having that much range. And then he also has a thigh swivel, which can go all the way around. Double jointed knees up here and down here. And then the feet are really good too. So the feet, you can go up, forward and back. He has separate heel and toe. And then he also has a pin joint down here, which allows him to get kind of an angled ankle tilt. But it does give him a lot of ability to get wider stances, more than would be very natural for him to have. But gives him a lot of stability. The one thing I will say is I wish, at least on mine, the outward swivel is a little loose. I don't know if I could fix it. I don't think so, because it's a pin joint. So that's a little bit looser than I would like, but still holds things, hold poses well enough. Especially for the poses I'll be using him for. So let's go into the accessories very quickly. So we already went through his head thing. We won't talk about that again. You can open up his chest. Once again, using that double hinge, you can open that up, put the MP-10 matrix in, and close that up solidly. His guns, flip the handle down, and then you can tab it in. It's not as concerning as it was with Ironhide to get it in and out. And the thumb seems more solid. It's a thicker thumb, I believe. So you won't have too many issues with trying to get that in and out. It comes out just fine as well. The fishing rod. The easiest way is to get it in through this thinner piece of the rod where the thumb is, and then you can slide it up if you want, or you can just close it around. This just works through friction. But it works well. He has a pretty solid grip on it, as nice and gentle as you would want on a fishing rod. And then open up the arm panel, flip the fist in, close it back up, and use the simple peg system here to go ahead and get the saw blade in place. And as before, you can spin it around. I think this is too big, honestly, but it doesn't. I'm not going to use this for any display purposes, so I don't really care that it's too big. Yeah, and that's it for robot mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and get from robot to alt and finish off with final thoughts. We'll deal with the lower legs first, just because they're pretty simple and you can just get them out of the way. Fold up the feet and go like that. Oh, open up the panels from the outside like so. Flip up the skirt there and the side skirts there, just in case. And then you're going to go ahead and slide this leg back in using that double hinge mechanism like so. You'll see that tab fits into the back of the thigh, and this will tab back in as before. Same thing on the other side. There are a little bit of tight clearance issues. You can open this panel a little bit more, but I don't recommend it. It's not really designed to do that. You might damage or break that hinge piece if you do that. Once you have that done, use that tab and that slot to go ahead and tab the legs together. And then you can flip all these down. Lower body finished. Now if you haven't flipped in both hands yet, go ahead and do that. Very simple. Go ahead and rotate the arms at the bicep 180 degrees, not 90, and then at the shoulder 180 degrees. Same thing on the other side. And then once you do that, you can go ahead and carefully untab these two tabs from the windshield. Get those out the way. At this point, I like straightening out these shoulder pieces as well. You don't have to flip in this visor if you don't want to, but I'll go ahead and do that at this point, I guess, since I didn't do before. And just make sure you get it all the way tucked back, otherwise the helmet won't close all the way. So at this point, you can come around and untab the backpack down here. Rotate the spoiler down. I'm gonna unfold this, get these pieces out, and they do tab on the side here. You'll see that tab, that small slot. Yeah, you might be able to see that. Based on my lighting, I can't really tell. So once you do that, you can go ahead and untab the back of the neck or collar from that windshield, and you need to do that so that you can get this tab on the arm through that slot. And be careful again, I like to support both sides because it is a thinner plastic here, so just go ahead and get that so it's solidly pegged. And then from here, once you get these booster pieces out of the way, you're going to go ahead and tab in these two orange slots into these red slots up here. And it's a blind tab, like it's, but you can definitely feel it tab in there. All right, coming to the upper body, go ahead and untab the chest. And then while you're doing that, you can rotate the head. Oh, sorry, you're going to want to fold this up first. And then you're going to rotate the head backwards to reveal the engine block here. You actually want to go a little bit further than you need to. It allows that clearance through here to be a little bit easier. I find that collapsing the double hinges on the shoulders is much easier before tabbing in these pieces here than it is afterwards. So once you get into all into position, collapse those double hinges. Come on. Come on. It should go inside that mechanism. There we go. Like that. And from there, you can go ahead and close all this up. And then these tabs here will go into the slots at the front part of the windshield. Once that's done, you can come around to the sides, get the arms slotted in, and then there's a series of tabs here, here, and here. Just kind of got to get them into place. Tab them all together. There we go. Same thing on the other side. Just make sure to get this chrome piece underneath here. Like that. Make sure it's solidly pegged in, and you should be good here. And again, I don't know how to get this cleared. If there's any nice tips or simple tips that anyone can provide in the comment section to get that cleared, let me know, and I think that will help everyone out a bit. And you can see the matrix. I actually kept the matrix in here while transforming, and it works just fine. So final thoughts for MP-28 Hot Rodimus or Hot Rod. I really like this figure. I think they did a really solid job with both modes. The alt mode I think does look the better of the two. It just really does have that nice wedge shape, really sleek look. And aside from the minor nitpicks of not having paint on these two small pieces, I really don't have a lot of complaints about this this mode at all. These molded details are a little soft. Maybe that could have been a little bit stronger, or they could have added a little bit more molded details. But for a fictional car, I don't mind it being a little bit more plain or less detailed. As far as robot mode, I did have those issues, but they're by and large pretty minor complaints. While I do think that this figure could be slightly improved upon, I think it's a fantastic version of MP Hot Rod. Alright, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. If you like the review, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to keep up to date with all my news and reviews, go ahead and click that subscribe button that's floating around, or go ahead and follow me on Facebook at P4L Reviews. Alright, that's all for today, everyone. Have a good one.